and knock him down. Eventually you can break through his armor for massive bonus damage on consecutive hits. But really, this is just a fight that most of you will need to attempt over and over again before you get good enough to overcome it. Of course, if you do manage to overcome the Watchdog, you've got Amygdala waiting for you on the next floor. So what makes this Amygdala so difficult, especially after the story version came in at number 20? Well, it's the dungeon. Half health is just brutal in this fight. Amygdala hits like a truck normally, but it feels like it's even worse here. Many hits can be a one-shot, and if you miss time and dodge and take a counter hit, it's likely a one-shot no matter how much you have in vitality. To top it all off, this boss has a metric fuck-ton of health, making this a battle of endurance, patience, and fortitude. My successful deal here took about 5 minutes, and that's on a level 200 character. On my level 60, this fight took over 12 minutes to finish. That's an incredibly large amount of time not to be a hit. Same strategies for the regular Amygdala apply to her, but you'll have to be nearly flawless to get past this wall hunter. The first of the Nightmares DLC trio warrants a seemingly a reskin of the Cleric beast, a boss we locked in 28 out of 30. So what makes him so much harder? Well, what I said back then, I can say that I always thought the Cleric beast might be a lot tougher and you would skill for Red Game. Holds true here. On top of that, he has fire AoE to nearly all of his attacks. With that said, the same strategies apply here as before. Get behind him and smack that booty. This is until he reaches 50% health and says, YOLO, forget the booty, and moves in the lower half of his body. For the rest of the fight, he crawls around shitting and barfing lava all over the place, and doing a damaging crawl that does absolutely crazy damage. There's really no easy way to handle the second phase. You have to be pretty flawless in your timing, but the general idea is to keep your distance and wait for the slim windows to attack the right side. Still, this can be a very lengthy fight, especially on New Game Plus cycles, so be sure to keep your composure and don't get too greedy. And with that, you'll eventually come to the founder of the healing church. This was the perfect fight to introduce players to the brutality of the DLC bosses. As soon as the battle opens, you've got this mad horse monster charging you immediately. And let me just say, he does not let up. You may get tiny windows of relief, but this is easily one of the most aggressive bosses in Bloodborne. Of course, that's what makes it great. This fight is one huge adrenaline rush. I've found that the best way to handle him is to aggressively dodge into him, hit 2 to 3 times, get ready to dodge again, and repeat. Like Varl, you'll always want to be pushing into Ludwig, which severely limits his moveset. Enough hits and you'll be able to stagger him. One move to seriously watch out for, though, is the jump attack. He'll suddenly just leap and be gone, which begs the question, how the hell does he stay up there so long? I have no idea because I'm way too afraid to look up there. Primarily because this move obliterates your health bar if it connects. The best way to dodge it I've found is to sprint away and hope for the best. Eventually you'll down him and get to witness one of the best cutscenes I've ever seen. Don't be thrown off by the change, however, his move is just as aggressive. In this form, the goal is to dodge and get behind him. With a few hits, he'll stagger and you can get a visceral attack. At this point, he'll likely raise his sword. Be sure to back away from the AoE and prepare for the follow-up. After the blast, you want to run perpendicular to Ludwig, that way you can avoid his insta-kill AoE slam and get behind him for some extra hit. Stay aggressive and you'll be able to best this man beast. This fight is undoubtedly one of the hardest in Bloodborne, but damn if it isn't one of the most satisfying too. Finally, we come to one the community voted as the hardest boss in Bloodborne. Orphan is without a doubt one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive boss in the entire Soulsborne series. I almost feel like FromSoft intentionally led you to go all safety security with the beautiful expanse and very non-aggressive tone at the beginning of the fight. And from the moment he snaps to working, it's a nearly non-stop assault. I think it speaks volumes to the fact Orphan can be parried, something that notoriously makes bosses in the series easier. And yet, he's still considered the hardest boss. In fact, I should mention by the metrics I used, its rated average was so high that its actual final rank was 10.53 out of 10. Well, it's like over the damn limit. His first phase is hard, but it's even worse. He's pretty aggressive, but his moves need not careful attention to his tells and timing. The challenge comes in that many of his moves have little to no windup, and they look pretty similar. Once you make it to 50% though, the real fight begins. He decides to two-hand his shrimp and just goes ham. This damn shrimp Shrimp Man goes absolutely batshit and starts jumping around the arena in seconds, spewing shrimp acid all over the place, calling in lightning strikes, all while slamming his weapon all over where you're standing. There are very, very few moments of reprieve, and you will absolutely need to be on your A game to best this boss. But if you manage to pull it off, you should feel incredibly accomplished knowing you beat the toughest boss in Bloodborne. You know, I woke up this morning and said to myself, golly gee, D-Mod, you know what this channel is lacking? Boss content. Well, today is my lucky day. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Boss Breakdown, where I break down bosses. Yes, it is that simple. I've ranked many a game's entire roster of bosses. Dark Souls, Cup Souls, Bug Souls, Blood Souls, those games featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry Souls, Overwatch. But you know what? Sometimes bosses are extra special and need more than a brief segment in a ranking to let their full splendor shine like a celestial emissary's spell to the face. Oh yes, special goes both ways, which means anyone can be on the menu. Be sure to suggest to me in the comments which boss you'd like to see me crack open like a how-to basic masterpiece. But if the idea of a Blue Goober breakdown tickled your fancy, today is your lucky day. Because I also thought to myself that I need to make more of my own masterpieces like this. Moonlight? Butter. Doesn't fly. The lovely folks at Amino have sponsored me once again to make more Buttertastic content using their robust new story feature. Scrolling through their Discover page, you'll find tons of interesting stories that are snappy, fun-sized content bursts that are more akin to full productions and candid moments. I partnered with Amino to create a few stories of my own, specifically today a bite-sized boss breakdown of the Celestial Emissary. After the video, click the link in the description or the pinned comment to download Amino for free. There you'll be able to find my stories by searching for the Democracy within the app. Be sure to follow me over there for some smaller bonus content between videos. Just like with YouTube, anytime you watch one of my stories that supports me, so I appreciate you giving my breakdown of our favorite jelly beans a look. Now back to our favorite horse. God, what a weird game. I gotta say though, even though you'll never catch me going to sleep without my Lady Maria body pillow, bosses outside of Blood Souls need love too. That's right, when are you gonna do a boss breakdown of the best boss ever made in any video game ever, the Great Mighty Boo? In due time, unbiased observer, in due time. Without further ado, let's get started with our breakdown of Ludwig the Accursed and Holy Blade from Miyazaki's own gothic horror masterpiece, Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, boss fights often have little more present story context than a cutscene preceding the fight. Instead of most characters being developed through direct interactions throughout the game leading to the eventual throwdowns, you'll often hear stories in passing. So when you come face to face with one, it carries a lot of weight. One such story is the tale of the first Healing Church hunter, Ludwig. The Beast Blade was originally handled by Gehrman and his disciples in secret. This required them to have great skill and finesse, which is why Gehrman's hunter tools lean more toward a sleek design. Once the blade became too large to go unnoticed, however, Ludwig entered the stage with his new creations, such as his sword and rifle. Both weapons were designed to tackle the church's expectations of larger and more terrifying beasts being created. Originally, Ludwig led his knights, the Holy Blade, out on hunts. But as the Beast Blade grew, the Healing Church enlisted citizens to wield brutish weapons like the Kurkhammer. This is because they required no skill like Gehrman's tools, and with a bit of strength could smash beasts even in the hands of a novice. Now here's where I'll offer some of my own speculation on Ludwig to help bridge the gap between his time as a hunter and our fight in the Nightmare. I believe Ludwig felt immense pressure to resolve the plague. At some point, his hand was forced by the church when his holy blades weren't getting results, and innocent citizens were coerced into hunting. If Ludwig prided himself on anything, it was his sense of honor. How could he stay true to his ideals if he led lambs to the slaughter? Those lambs being the people he was trying to save by hunting in the first place. Conflicted, Ludwig fought in the loud principle of Yarn. It was there that he found his answer, in the guidance of a Carol rune. As stated by the rune's description, within the coil of Ludwig's mind, he began seeing tiny beams of light. He brought Ludwig comfort and began to massage his fears of strength with his ideas. With the rune, he found a weapon, the Holy Moonlight Blade. With his guided moonlight, he returned to the hunt with an invigorating whether it was beasts, unskilled citizens dying under his command, or even innocent lives that were taken under suspicion of infection, Ludwig showed no mercy. I believe this slowly chipped away at his sanity, pulling him further away from his chivalrous ideals, while the seductive call of the guiding moonlight put him at ease enough to continue. This let the bloodlust go on as the hunter fell deeper and deeper into madness, with the bloodlust eventually pulling him into the hunter's nightmare for an eternal hunt. By the time we find him, he's lost all sense of himself. relegated to a feral beast seeking to slay anything in its path. In the ensuing battle, you knock an unsuspecting sword from his back. As Ludwig basks in the glow of the sword charged by the arcane power of the Great Ones, he gains a sudden, unnerving composure.
You were on my side, all along.
From here on out, Ludwig uses the power of the sword to duke it out. If you claim victory, you get a chance to speak with him afterward. The dialogue that follows also confirms his descent into madness as a result of the room. If been trying to convince you that he didn't fall victim to his flirt as a private home, is maniacal, they will. If you saw him in a Slick shirt or any other church bar, they'll take you for a church hunter and ask you if his blades kept their honor. You've got two options. Tell him what he wants to hear, or tell him the truth. And fuck it.
As my detractors made eminently clear, does the nightmare never end?
To me, this dialogue further reinforces that he is aware of his treachery on some level, but his awareness of it drives him mad without taking a hit from the old rune. If you say yes, he'll talk up the good Moonlight some more and be at peace with the thought of his compatriots keeping their honor where he did not. The tragedy of Ludwig is that he had good intentions, but ultimately was used as a tool of the church and a puppet of the Great Ones. He ended up a deranged butcher that strayed far from the ideals he originally held dear. His story is a good juxtaposition for the player to look at themselves and how they've handled their own time in Yarn. And all of his characterization adds great significance to a fight with extraordinary mechanics. Fighting Ludwig is one doozy of a battle. Giant beast bosses are difficult to properly tune for a game that emphasizes melee combat. With the necessity to get up close and personal to do damage outside of a few niche builds, you'll have to tango with melee strikes from monsters 10 times as combat. Range and size of short blows. That can be damn hard to program, but I have to say, sometimes the Ludwig's fight are pretty rare. It affords one more words of the aggression, and Ludwig is no different. He has many different body parts that can be damaged for a stun, like each of his hind legs. If you snag his head enough, it'll be the first moment and allow for a riposte. Even if you can manage to use these stuns to your advantage, you still have to balance between Ludwig's many different attacks. According to the wiki, Ludwig has a total of 15 different possible moves in his first phase alone. Dealing with each of them requires something different from you. Self-slash is an investment forward, allowing you the ability to use invincibility range to quick step into it and punish. This affords expert timing and allows you to keep the aggression on. And frankly, with his range, hitbox size, and closing speed, running away is likely to get you down. Due to that, skill dodging is a must. The catch is, it's not always as simple as stepping in. Sometimes you'll do a double slash and move backward. It has a very short tail and is a deliberate trap for players to get involved in the dodging forward. Of course, he can also disengage by jumping into your set higher, forced to run straight away or be crushed by its magnitude. This move has another great reward though by letting you turn and snipe ahead if you have good timing. If you run away too much, you'll only execute a spray or focus blast. He also loves to charge. It has a decent tail, but the timing is very precise in the dodge, and if you miss it, the counter hit is enough to one-shot you higher by towering bills. Now you might be saying, why not spec that booty? Well, for one, you might get horsey dicked, and two, Ludwig consistently shifts back towards squaring up with you if you aren't facing him directly. This can again be used to your advantage to hit his head with the right timing, but you're liable to be attacked quickly after, so be ready to dodge if you take on that risk. You might also think it would be good to stay under him, but he has wild stunts and spikes that keep that from being viable unless your dodges are flawless. Saying these things one after the other might make them all sound manageable, but in real time it's a whole different beast. Ludwig is one of the only massive beast bosses that rivals the humanoid bosses in terms of consistent, fast-paced attacks with little to no downtime in between. This makes reacting to all the different possibilities quite the challenge while also trying to slice them down. Speaking of slicing down, phase 2 is arguably more challenging to handle than the first. His range is disgusting. His sword can hit you at what feels like a quarter of the arena away, so you might think running away is your best bet. No, because you need to get up close to attack, and he has multiple ranged attacks, including firing magic rays at you and charging you from across the damn arena. It's horrifying. But honestly, I often do run away just because dealing with his slams up close can be brutal. The tells on his swings have nice variety, but they have with such a small gap between the tell and the hit that often you're dodging as a reaction to the movement and not reading it. Once you get it down, it can be realistic to manipulate his slams for booty smacks, and he is susceptible to stuns and riposte. He also does large magic AoEs that have huge tells, the second of which gives you a ton of time to punish if you get behind him with Berry Jump.